Hi, everybody. It's Michael Oliveris from JurisQ.com with divorce attorney Marina Shepelsky, our regular guest. Welcome back.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being with us. We're going to continue our sessions on divorce law, matrimonial law, also called family law. And our next question is, when you decide to divorce, and let's say you want to do things amicably, you don't necessarily want to go to court and fight, you want to do a settlement agreement to divide property, okay? Let's talk specifically on that. To divide the house you lived in, your retirement accounts, your bank accounts, your business. What would an agreement like that look like? What can you put in there? What you cannot put in there?
First of all, this is always a process, right? So when people get divorced, sometimes they call me up and say, look, I want to start a divorce. My wife and I discussed everything. We are ready to do this. We'll have a contract. We're not going to litigation. We're not going to drag this out through courts for years. We're ready. Okay. We file it. We get the index number. We usually use something like a no fault reason, right? Irreconcilable differences. And we serve the wife. That means somebody comes to the wife's residence and brings her personality papers. And a lot of times people go nuts. Like it, you know, some people will take it well, some people will not.
Of course.
So a lot of it depends how we begin this process. If they're 100% sure that their spouse, it could be a man or a woman, doesn't matter, is on track, they agreed to settle this, they want to do a contract, they don't want to go through litigation, maybe we won't even serve them. Maybe we'll just file the summons with, you know, the index number, we get the index number, and we just give the contract, and I'll talk about what goes in there in a minute. We just give the contract to the husband, or we forward it to the wife, or maybe she already has an attorney, and we say, okay, talk about amongst yourselves. Let the wife talk to her attorney. I don't recommend the two sides discuss this directly. Let the other spouse go to their lawyer, discuss it, come back to us, make changes, and then we can sign it and settle it. A lot
Marina,
of it is strategy.
I just want to clarify. So you're saying don't make it so aggressive and adversarial sometimes.
Right.
In other words, file the papers in court, but don't actually serve personally the other party, not to aggravate the situation. Hold off, see if you could reach an agreement. If not, then serve the papers to the other party.
You know, it depends on what kind of a lawyer you are. Some of my colleagues will never even consider this. So if you are the kind of person who wants to settle this amicably, and you're looking for an attorney who's ready to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, and is not going to create extra stress, give us a call, we'll help you. Some people want like blood. They want a war. That kind of lawyer, they will serve. They will make sure the person feels terrible, the other side. They want to show that they're dominant. They, you know, so it depends on your strategy. Our strategy,
and that's a great topic, Marina. That's a great topic to discuss for our next session.
We can do that separately, but let's pretend you have a spouse who's willing to settle. We file the case, the summons with notice, we get the index number, and we send the papers out to them or to their lawyer. What goes into the papers? What goes in the contract, right? First of all, if there's children, children are our number one concern. We have to talk about custody, number one, meaning there's physical custody. It's called residential custody. Who does your child spend most of the time with? Where do they have like a pillow? They're, you know, they're like stuffed toys and so on. Usually it's only one parent, although some couples decide to split custody, residential custody, and that's okay too. It depends on you guys, and the courts will never stand against that. If the two parents reasonably decide to share residential physical custody, that's fine. Then we do legal custody. Legal custody is what happens when the child needs to go to a special school or needs a surgery or medical treatment, or God forbid, some sort of a life-saving treatment, or like they're on life support, you know, all these things that usually parents both have to make decisions on. Most couples choose joint legal custody in these situations where it's amicable, right? Sometimes people say, okay, we want joint legal custody, but the final decision goes to mom because she's the one who he lives with, or the son lives with, or the daughter lives with, you know? Okay, so kids custody we discussed. Child support, very important. No judge is gonna allow any contract to go through. And by the way, this contract becomes the order of the court. That
Okay.
becomes your judgment of divorce. No judge is gonna let that go through if it's unfair or unreasonable. So, for example, you can agree on the basic child support by statute, like the percentages that the law requires, without anything else, but you have to explain how it's fair.
So the judge decides what's fair for the child.
Yeah, but the minimal is like
acts
the
like an
basic
attorney
support.
for the child almost.
Right, and basic support. And I had one situation, for example, where the wife said, I only want 20, I don't even want the $25. He doesn't have to pay me anything. I said, look, 25 is the minimum. I said, look,
right.
If we put something weird, like zero, the court will not sign it. Let's put $25, even if you never collected, and hopefully we'll explain that the father doesn't have a job, whatever. We didn't have much information, but they signed it. It went to the judge, and the judge said, nah, I'm not signing this. So if you're going to say $25, I want to see a tax return for the father. I want to make sure. And usually they don't ask for things like that, right? If the two parties agreed, if it's reasonable, the two lawyers signed, what's the big deal? In that case, he said, no, the judge takes the interest in the child's life because that's the really one person they look out for, the child, right? The court looks out for the child. So child support has to be at least the basic according to the income of the parents. Usually we add
Maria, quick question.
add-ons.
Quick question. What happens if you agree on a set amount? Let's say you agree $300 a month child support, but the husband is paying much less for years. And the wife, ex-wife, takes this amount without complaining. Can she come back 3 years later and say, wait a second, let's go back, calculate how much you didn't pay me, and pay me now for all those missed payments?
Potentially, yes, I've seen that happen. Potentially, yes. So keep that in mind. If if she is accepting less, and eventually this could catch up to you.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Once you establish the basic child support plus the add-ons like babysitting, daycare, after school, like key latch program, it's called in New York. So an after school program, tutoring, braces, summer camp. Things like that, medical expenses, insurance, who pays for the child's insurance, all that goes in there. Okay, now we're done with the money and the custody. Let's talk about visitation. We write up a schedule of visitation for the non-custodial parent and the custodial parents. So they let's say, alternate holidays. So mom has Thanksgiving in odd years, dad has Thanksgiving in even years, but even Thanksgiving has to be defined. Some people think of Thanksgiving as the Wednesday when the kids don't have school anymore, like when the early release from school Wednesday till Sunday, Super Bowl, whatever it is on Thanksgiving, Sunday, that's Sunday, and Thanksgiving Sunday. I think
that's interesting. That means even if today you agree with your ex-wife or ex-husband on everything, you guys are amicable, you never know, relationship may sour down the road, so you better be explicit in your contract.
Exactly. This is exactly what I tell my clients.
And argue about it later.
The worst thing I see from other lawyers when the clients come to me to bring a lawsuit for violating custody or something like that, or no visitation set up, is when the prior attorney leaves in there, dad has reasonable visitation rights. What does that mean?
What is that?
Like no one ever knows what that means. So I try to talk people out of that. Gotcha. So we have a schedule. Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving could be Wednesday through Sunday, or Thanksgiving could be Wednesday, Thursday with one parent, Friday through Sunday with the other.
Gotcha.
So we always play around with it. The child's birthday. What about alternating child's birthdays? What about, 1 year mom has him for the actual birthday, the next year dad has him for the actual birthday. What about, vacations? Some people say mom can take the kids out of the country for up to 30 days without any letter from dad, but she has to let him know, give all the details where the children will be, so he can contact them if he wants. There's so much that goes into daily contact with the other parent by video or by phone. In the summer, there's 11 weeks, usually. We calculated this like based on this public school schedule, right? 11, 12 weeks in the summer. How many of those weeks goes to mom? How many goes to dad? What about alternating? What about, sometimes people say, I'm not gonna let him have the kids. I won't let him have the kids 5 weeks in a row or 6 weeks in a row. I mean, it looks fair on paper, but it's too much, whatever. All of that is up to you to figure out. And if this goes to court, they're still going to force you to figure this out. The judge doesn't want you to give this power to them. They want you to figure this out on your own. Okay, putting the kids aside, we talk about alimony. Is there alimony, meaning maintenance for the spouse, not the child support, the spouse? Okay, we got that result. Then we talk about splitting the property, what you asked about, right?
Right.
It's called Equitable Distribution in New York. And there goes the marital home. People are entitled to credits from whatever they contributed from premarital property, meaning before getting married, I had a $50,000 savings account. We got married. A year later, we buy a house. My $50 went into the $50,000 went into the down payment. I'm gonna get the $50,000 back. Whatever's left over, we're gonna split, unless there was a prenup. If there was a prenup, maybe there's a different discussion.
Okay.
We're talking about anything that you grew during the marriage, like your 401k plan, your retirement plan, your 403 plan, any IRAs, any investment properties. And even if you mixed premarital money in the joint properties, at some point it doesn't matter anymore, because you might have been married so long, it doesn't matter anymore how much you put in there. Sometimes there's a prenup, but the marriage took so many years, it doesn't even matter anymore, because after like 20 years, no one is going to look at a prenup and say, you know what, you waived your rights. So there's so much that goes in this. I recommend both people have lawyers. Clarify,
so again, you're saying that a prenup has an expiration date?
Yeah. That's right.
Interesting.
Yep. And there's case law on this. There's I used to personally go to Richmond County, Staten Island a lot, and I knew this really prolific judge, Judge Catherine DiDomenico, meaning she publishes a lot. Prolific meaning her opinions, her cases go on the books, they become precedent. Other judges in the counties in the state use her stuff. I know her attorney, her court attorney very well, and they come out. So she had one case of like an Indian American couple where he was a doctor and they had a prenup. They were married for like 23 years, had maybe 3 or 4 kids. I might be losing some details, but Indian couple, he is the doctor, had a prenup, married for like 20 years, 23 years, a bunch of kids. She helped him run the practice. He tried to use the prenup against her in the divorce, and Judge DiDomenico said, nah, that ain't gonna work here in Staten Island. It's not fair, because you were together so long. At some point there is an expiration date.
Wow, I didn't know. So you got to be careful.
This is a real case on the books, came out of my former home of Staten Island, my home county.
So
I don't live there anymore.
What do you think is the reasonable time by when you have to look into your prenup, maybe change it, try to do something? 10
on
years,
the other hand,
15, 20.
On the other hand, if you signed an unfair BS type of divorce settlement agreement, if you had an attorney, that thing is unshakable. It's not like a prenup. It's very different. The courts
no expiration date.
Yeah, if you had an attorney, especially. Now, if you signed under pressure, you didn't have, this woman came to me for a consultation. She signed thinking the husband told her she doesn't need a lawyer. They're doing this for the kids' college application. She signed a divorce and a divorce settlement agreement where she waived all her rights to huge amounts of money and properties. And she read it and she decided it was okay. His lawyer said, maybe you should have a lawyer look at it. Like, he wasn't insisting, but he did suggest it to her. She said, no, I'm not going to have a lawyer look at it. I know what this is about. She thought it wasn't even real. She really didn't think they were filing this. She thought it was just for papers. A couple of years later, he manipulated everything so that she went into like some cheap house that they had like 10 properties, for example. He put her in like the worst, the cheapest property, and he said, whatever. He manipulated it. When she finally ran to the lawyer, it was so long already that passed, and a bunch of attorneys refused to even take the case. And I think she filed this on her own, and the judge said, look, you signed this, nobody held a gun to your head, you were an adult, you had a notary on this, you had a chance, it's your problem what you were thinking, you should have gotten a lawyer.
Right.
But there are situations where you signed without a lawyer, without a translator, if English is not like your strong language. Or I had one guy make the argument that he was so stressed from being in divorce that he signed without thinking, without a lawyer.
Is that an excuse? Without a lawyer.
He tried to undo it. He tried to change the judgment later, saying, say that again? Sorry. My phone doesn't cooperate. Saying he didn't really understand fully what he was signing because he was so stressed from the divorce. And the judge looked at him and said, what kind of job do you have? And he was like a project manager doing something with computers in the finance industry, very smart, sophisticated guy. He said, sir, don't try to pull my leg here, okay? You're a sophisticated guy. I can see from the papers that your bonus last year was like 180,000, just a bonus. You're making a lot of money. You're making all these accusations. You're saying that you signed under a lot of stress. You're under stress now, and you seem to be doing fine. And he didn't undo it. So the courts always lean on the side of keeping that agreement that the two sides signed, especially if there were two attorneys.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
very good.
That's what a divorce with an agreement looks like. A lot of people will call it uncontested with an agreement. Some people call it collaborative. In other states, it's usually called collaborative divorce, but that's what it is.
Very good. Marina, we got a very good general overview of what's in there. In our next sessions, I want to go into more detail. Exactly. How do you split 401ks? How do you split a house that was there before the marriage, that was bought within the marriage, and all other questions and details that can come up, because divorces are so complex, especially after people live together for a while. Let's say both spouses are working or one spouse is not working. There's so many complexities. It's always a good idea to contact an attorney who is knowledgeable, who does just that, like Marina Shepelsky. That is what you do every day, and get the answers, so at least you know what to expect, and you work together to do a roadmap, a plan for successful, stress-free as much as possible divorce. Marina, thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, please contact Marina Shepelsky on her Facebook, on her website. We're gonna have the phone number on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, best way is to call our office and schedule a consultation. And by the way, I just want to make it clear, I'm not working alone. I work with a great team of attorneys and experts. So we have a whole team approach to divorce, custody, visitation cases, child support cases. So you might work with a whole team of attorneys if you become our client, and you're welcome.
Very good. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for listening in, for tuning in. Marina, all the best. I'll see you very soon with our next question. Take care.